Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we are based, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and extend that respect to the elders past and present.
Hello and welcome to Inspire, our fortnightly video series where we talk to interesting people and share their learning. Today we are lucky enough to be joined by Stephanie Woollard OAM, UN Award winner for Responsible Business and founder of 7 Women.
Great to be here, Hugo.
You've come on today to share your story and learnings. What have you learned along the way in being the founder of a global charity?
Wow, I've learned many things. I think when you start your own organisation or business, it's constant learning along the way. But I suppose what drove me to begin the charity in the first place was that hunger for learning how to help and make a difference for people that might be less fortunate than us. So my story, just really quickly, was I was in Nepal when I was 19 on a trip and came across 7 women that had physical disabilities. I was walking down a tiny little dusty back street in Kathmandu and saw a woman ahead of me carrying 2 heavy bags, and she turned into a tiny tin shed and there were 6 other women there. So I learned through their stories there's a huge stigma and discrimination against people with disabilities in Nepal. So that was the first key learning, you know, that different cultures in the world are very different. They have different beliefs. But where does belief cross the line of, human rights or creating struggling for others? When do you kind of step in and say, actually, that's just a belief that society made up and it's not true? You know, these women had huge potential, and what really, I suppose, urged me into action initially was it was just really heartbreaking to see that a belief that was just made up in that society would limit their human potential, and they were only young, and I could see that a few of them had started to embody that belief and think that they were worthless and had nothing to add to society. So everything was learning for me, because I was very young at the time, probably like around the age of yourself and listeners at uni, but 15 years later now, I look back and I think every single step was learning, and it was scary to start that. But it was just, about stepping out of your comfort zone and being willing to learn as you go.
That sounds amazing. And what sort of projects have you worked on around the charity since then?
So the first project was basically I had about $200 left in Nepal, and I was wondering how I could use that to make a difference to these women. So the first project we decided was spending the $200 on 2 trainers to train the women in skills. So 2 Nepalese trainers came in to train the women in making different handicraft items that I could bring back to Australia and help sell them, to send the money back to just at least build them a proper place to live. So that was the first project, I suppose, getting the women a proper place to live, build, proper blankets, beds, things like that. The next was building up a little manufacturing business of fair trade products. So that went from the 7 women making bits and pieces and me bringing them back to my university in Melbourne here, La Trobe, to sell them every Wednesday at the market stall, to wholesaling those products to over 200 shops around Australia. So that was, over about 4 years. It takes a while. It didn't happen immediately, and there are lots of challenges along the way with the quality of products. And then the other 3, I suppose major projects we've been working on is a cooking school where the women now, or before this period of time, taught travellers how to do the cooking classes at our centre in Kathmandu. So that was a great income for us. And then we just launched our new guest house in Kathmandu, which is also, for the tourist market, and also to train women up in hospitality and tourism, customer service skills. So we're now looking at adapting these enterprises to still generate income during this time.
They all sound life-changing. What is your favorite dish that you've actually tried cooking in the cooking school so far?
I think Nepali food is delicious. They have their main kind of meal that Nepalis have twice a day called dal bhat. So bhat means rice, and dal is the lentil curry, the lentil soup they have with it, and then the different curries that they make. So they are that's a delicious meal. So I'm not sure if I love cooking it, but I love eating it.
Don't we all? How did you learn your skills that you needed to actually create a global charity?
So I think it was, it's a bit like what I said before, just stepping into your, out of the comfort zone, stepping into the unknown, and at each little step in the journey. I had never done business. I wasn't even studying business at university. I was studying international development. So when I met the women and had the $200 and saw their situation, it was interesting because all of the self-doubt and fears and things that happens to people when they're thinking about creating a new idea didn't really come into my mind as strongly to stop me from action, because I just saw the situation that the women were in and thought, this has to change. How can I be part of helping them change their situation so that they can, be independent in future. So the skills along the way, from taking action, really, that's how I learned all my skills. And I think that's the best way to learn sometimes, by just throwing yourself out there and taking action. And so it was business, how to listen to the people that you're trying to work with, to get the most effective outcome, because I was in a completely different culture over there. So how to listen, how to understand their needs, which is absolutely critical, I think, when you're working in a team, both any team and also with a group of people that you're trying to assist or trying to help empower. Because there were times where I had ideas of what we could do with the money that was being generated, but they actually wanted something else was more important to them. So that, just to give you an example, I was thinking that with the money we generated, we could buy some tools and equipment for them to be able to make more products to sell. And when I asked the women, they said that they would like to spend that on a fence, a higher fence around where they were living, because they didn't feel safe, because it was easy for anyone to kind of climb over the fence and into where they were living. So that was a very key learning, to really listen and honour the people that you're working with, and to work in a team to have everyone's different ideas and opinions to create the best solution, which I think is very relevant to the engineering profession. And the other learnings, I suppose, were just that nobody has all the answers. Nobody knows the perfect plan. So it's about taking action and then tweaking it, as you go. Sometimes you don't have to have I never had the full vision of 7 Women or exactly down the track what I wanted it to look like. I always just took the steps that became apparent to me, the next step that needed to happen, and the next step and the next step. And that has led me on an incredible adventure. And I think sometimes when you just focus on what is the next step, you're more open to opportunities or possibilities that might come in your path, rather than being like, I'm going this way,
Yeah, it's truly amazing how far you can get just through listening and compassion and some extra learning on the side. And as you mentioned, those are the key points behind humanitarian engineering. And so it's a good bit of advice to give everyone today. Along the way, what was the best advice you got from a friend or mentor?
I might just say I really like the approach of Engineers Without Borders, and they have been a group that's come to our centre and done our cooking classes and supported the work of 7 Women. And so I'm familiar with their approach, and I think they're doing fantastic work in Nepal, and I've loved collaborating with them. Because they bring groups over, and I've got my own tour company as well, and I bring groups of university students actually over to Nepal to do 10-day cultural immersions, a little bit similar to what Engineers Without Borders does with their groups. And so we get a lot of groups visiting the centre, and we love that. It's really supported our enterprises to grow. They both do a cooking class, and then normally buy our fair trade products to support the manufacturing business. So just wanted to mention that before I forgot. But the advice, handy advice I've had, I'd like to say something that is probably a bit of an unexpected answer, but I've had many people support, but the best advice I think anyone can ever have is the answers that come from within, because we know all the answers, you know, and my looking back and reflecting on my journey in the beginning, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. So I was asking lots of different people for advice. And then when I got up and running, I realized that actually, you know, their advice was appreciated, but they weren't in my shoes. They hadn't seen the women. They hadn't visited Nepal. They hadn't, you know, understood what we were creating like I had. So it was more about going with your gut feeling and your intuition, and just doing what you feel at the time is the right thing to do, and thinking about what resources you have around you to help make that happen. So while I think it's great to get advice from people that are wise and have had you know, a lot more years of lived experience in a certain area than you, I think, you know, it's great to get advice, but always run it past your gut feeling and, you know, what feels right to you, because you have all the answers inside. And you know, sometimes that's just about asking as well. I think a lot of people forget we can actually ask and put a question with great intention out there. What should I do about this situation? And ask for the answer to be revealed. You know, and that answer can be revealed in many different ways, through people that give you an idea, through, you know, an idea just coming to you when you're out walking in nature one day. But we actually have all the answers inside. And, you know, that's the reason why, you know, I created 7 Women as well, because I think ideas that come to us, and engineers are very creative people, right? So you get ideas all the time. So it's those ideas that most inspire you. You know, some ideas you kind of get, and other ideas you get and you think, oh my God, I would love to do this. Like this, you know, this podcast probably came from that sort of place. So it's taking action, taking that inspired action on those ideas that come to you. That's our path. You know, if we keep doing that in life, that forms our path in life, and walking an inspired path, you know. But I don't think it's about planning years ahead. I think it's just about having those little steps that create the path in the end. So yeah, so I've had lots of great advice, but the best has been when I've just taken action from that place within, you know, and followed my own intuition.
That makes perfect sense, because we are the only ones who can actually truly understand our story. With Victoria going back into lockdown, what sort of things are you doing to spend your downtime?
So I'm actually cooking up the next big vision at the moment. So it's a really exciting time. I'm in kind of creating mode. So like I was just talking about, a vision came to me, or the next idea came to me, and it like totally lit up every cell in my body. Super excited about this vision. And I just kind of wrote it down, and I was, you know, planning all the different moving parts to it. So it's basically, I've been traveling around a lot the last 4 or 5 years, speaking at different international conferences and meeting some really inspiring people. And I have a very big desire to unite people with a similar mindset, a similar philosophy, a similar desire to make a difference in the world globally. So I think, you know, we can make a difference on our own, in our own little projects, but if we unite and join that energy together, that the impact can be amplified. So my new idea is about creating a global network of people who can co-create, collaborate, and really facilitate that through the network and the website that we're building.
Thank you for sharing that. I really look forward to seeing how you succeed at it. The next question we've got is, how can we actually help? Because you've got lots of stuff happening at the moment, and there's going to be lots of opportunities that people can help.
Yeah, well, we're adapting our cooking classes. Obviously, there's no tourists in Nepal at the moment, so we're about to put those online so people can have cooking classes in their homes and fundraise, not actually having to go to Nepal. So the women have recorded that cooking class online. We're just piecing it together at the moment. Any film editors, or, you know, someone who knows how to edit footage, we're looking for someone like that at the moment. Graphic designers, we're always looking for. So just little skills, you know, with people that are keen to do an internship or join our team for a period of time is always really handy for us to advance projects. We've also got a documentary that's just in the final editing stage. So that documentary is probably of interest to Engineers Without Borders because it's about how tourism can be a force for good and how, you know, people can go to different countries and join with the locals to make things happen with our skill sets as complementary to those on the ground. So that will be released soon, and we're planning to do a lot of documentary screenings as fundraisers again in different communities. That's pretty much it. And just sharing the word, you know, spreading our work. It's amazing. You never know who's out there and looking at different things that you share on your Facebook or your social networks. So we really appreciate everyone that's shared our work during the years.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing your next video, movie actually. The last one was really good and I would recommend it.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to seeing what you get up to next and where you progress from here.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Up next, we've got shadow boxes in Craft Corner, so enjoy.
Hi everyone, this is Ningxin, and today we'll be making some shadow boxes. Here I've got 6 pieces of A5 paper, and what we're gonna do with them is cut them into trees, forest ground, and maybe some animals, so like we can make a forest-like shadow box. Here is my first tree and some ground that's been cut off, but this is more trees. It might be a bit hard to see because I'm using a pencil. Yeah, but you can just draw whatever you like. Here I'm drawing some foliages to add to the atmosphere. A few more trees. And this is where our deer come in a second. Yep, here you can see I'm starting to draw the deer and some more trees and a little bit more trees and some rocks, cause why not? So when you're cutting, you have to be very careful. Do it slow so like you don't cut yourself or like mess up something. Patience is very key for this step, because like it's very easy to slip the knife, and yeah, you have to be extra careful. Here you can see I'm just cutting it like small chunk by small chunk, because like I don't want to mess it up. Here are some of the trees we drawn earlier. The design is completely up to you, however you like it. The cutting bit is very tedious, so you have to have a bit more patience with it. Just do it slowly and you get there like one day. So yeah, this is the big tree that we drew. And here I'm just changing my design because I want a border around it. So like, you can just change your design last minute if you want to. Everything is up to you. And here is the layout of all my papers and my box. I'm sticking my box down, and here I'm just laying in my layers. It's best if you make the layers a bit more close to each other, because for my one, I kind of run out of space at the last two. Yeah, you can see in a bit. I struggle quite a bit with the last two. So I stuck them quite close because like there's no more space in the box. Just mess around with it a little bit and it'll fit. Yeah, you can see me struggling here. And that's it. Thank you for watching.